Hey guys, so today I'm here with the Magnaflow Street Series catback exhaust system fitting all 2018 and newer JL Wranglers with the 2.0 liter engine. Now, a catback can offer you a number of different benefits, and this option by Magnaflow is going to do just that. So this will do a really good job at opening up a lot of airflow, getting rid of a lot of restriction, which will essentially boost your horsepower and torque numbers in those higher RPM ranges and create a more aggressive tone out of your 2.0 liter. Now, as far as volume and loudness goes, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5 on the loudness meter, with 1 being completely stock and 5 being incredibly loud. Now, this is Magnaflow's Street Series, and that is their more quiet option, and that's exactly what you're going to get from this. It is going to do a really good job at creating a more aggressive tone or a deeper tone out of the 2.0. However, you're not getting a lot of volume with this system. Now, that's going to make it perfect for that daily driver who does not want to hear their exhaust all the time or doesn't want something that's incredibly loud, wants to keep it comfortable inside the cab area with no drone, thanks to the resonator mounted up front, making it a perfect entry-level exhaust system like I mentioned before. This is also just going to be great for the Jeep owner who's in search of a good-looking exhaust, considering that this features a 4-inch polished tip, a dual outlet, and even a polished muffler, giving a very clean look to the back end of the Jeep. Now, with all of that being said, this is going to cost you roughly $900, and in my opinion, I think you're getting what you pay for with the quality construction as well as the high quality materials that are included in this kit. Comparing it to other exhaust systems on the page, this is set at a pretty average price point. Now, some less expensive choices are usually just going to be either made of an aluminized steel instead of a high quality stainless steel option like this, or they usually will be for those high tuck choices, more for the off-roader and more for somebody who's really concerned about their departure angles and not necessarily concerned about looks. Again, in my opinion, I think if you're looking for a good looking exhaust system as well as something that's going to make your 2.0 liter sound a little bit more aggressive and not bother you on your day-to-day drives, then this option is going to be a great one to take a look at. Install is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about 2 hours to get the job done with some pretty basic hand tools. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now. Tools that I used for my install were a pry bar, a 10-inch extension, a 3/8 inch drive and 1/4 inch drive ratchet, an impact wrench, a hanger removal tool, and a socket set ranging from 18mm down to 10mm. So our first step to this install is to start by taking off our muffler. I'm going to start with the hangers, and I find it a little bit easier to take off the hangers themselves just because there's not a lot of room on the side of our muffler to fit a hanger removal tool. So you're going to need a 13mm socket as well as a 13mm ratcheting wrench in order to remove those 2 bolts that are holding the hanger on. I'm also using a 10-inch extension to reach the top bolt that's up on top of the hanger just because it is a little bit hard to reach. Then we can remove the bolt on the side. Just because there's not a lot of room, I'm going to use a 13mm ratcheting wrench. And then this hanger will stay hooked onto that frame, and then we can do the same thing on the other side. Next, we can loosen up the clamp on the over axle pipe. I'm going to be using a 15mm deep socket. Then we can wiggle off our exhaust. Next, we can loosen up the clamp up at the catback piping. I'm going to be using a 13mm ratcheting wrench. Now that that's loosened up and able to be disconnected, what we can do is remove the exhaust itself from the hanger. So right behind your driver's side spring, you will have a hanger here and an isolator. This is not removable, it's welded to the frame, so what we're gonna have to do is use a hanger removal tool and go ahead and push the exhaust out of the isolator. Right, so once it's removed, now we can wiggle out our exhaust piping. So the exhaust is hitting our spring and the subframe is in the way. So what I'm gonna do is just loosen up the bolts on either side of the subframe as well as the back. And then it is connected to this bracket here, so I'm just gonna remove the two 10mm bolts that are holding it in, so we'll be able to drop the subframe and wiggle our exhaust out. So first I'm gonna use an 18mm socket and loosen up the 4 bolts that are holding on our subframe. Next, I'm going to take a 10mm socket and remove the 2 bolts that are holding on the back side of this bracket. Once those are out, we'll be able to drop the subframe down. Now we can remove this bolt over here on the side and wiggle our exhaust out. So now that our subframe is kind of out of the way, what we can do is wiggle our exhaust out. Before we hop into the install, I wanted to stop down and tell you guys a little bit more about this Magnaflow Street Series exhaust system and what benefits that you're going to see out of this over our factory setup. Now this is going to be a big step up in construction as well as materials being made of a stainless steel material with mandrel-bent tubing, and that's going to be a lot more rust resistant and hold up for a longer period of time in comparison to our factory steel material. This is also going to have factory style hangers on it to ensure a good fit as well as high quality welds to ensure again that this is going to hold up for a long period of time and look good while doing it. Now as you can tell on the factory piping, that over axle pipe is pinched, which does cause a lot of restriction, and the factory style muffler and resonator are baffled as well and also cause a lot of restriction. But when moving over to this system, you're getting straight mandrel-bent piping. You're also getting a high flow muffler as well as a straight through style resonator, again freeing up a lot of airflow, and that's going to help you out in the performance department with some better horsepower and torque gains because of that better airflow, but it's also going to help you out in the sound department as well with a more aggressive tone to your Wrangler. Now not only is it just going to be very functional, but it's also going to give you a good look to your Wrangler as well with the large 4-inch polished tips and the dual outlet in comparison to our single outlet that we see on our factory exhaust system. This is going to give you a very polished look to the back of your Wrangler and bump up your styling, especially for you guys out there that are a fan of that dual tip. What I also really like about this new exhaust system is that it is a lot more compact. Now that is going to be a good look as far as just making the exhaust system look a lot sleeker than our factory one, but it is going to save you a little bit of room for you guys that are going out on the trail. Now this is also going to come with everything that you need in order to install it, all of the clamps and again those factory style hangers for a good fit. So let's go ahead and install our new exhaust system. So first what we're going to do is take off our clamp. This is the clamp on the resonator piping. There is a little tab here that you might have to bend out of the way. What we can do is just add that to our new exhaust system. Then we can head over to the Jeep. What we can do first is attach our resonator piping with our factory clamp. We're just going to attach this here, wiggle it into place. Make sure that the clamp is sitting over both pipes. And then what I'm gonna do is just tighten it up with a 13mm socket. Now we'll be able to adjust this just a little bit later, but I wanna make sure that this is staying in place. So now that that's on there, what we can do is put our subframe back up and just reattach it with the 2 bolts on the side and the 2 10mm bolts on this. Going to tighten up the 2 back that we loosened as well. Then we can just reattach those 2 10mm bolts on the bracket. What we can do next is attach our over axle pipe. I'm going to take our provided clamp, that on here, wiggle this over our resonator piping. What we want to do is line this up to get into the hanger. What we can do now is transfer over our factory hangers onto our new muffler there. I'm going to use a hanger removal tool in order to take these off. Put a little PB blaster on there just to help the hanger come off. Right, same thing for the other one. What we can do now is grab our new muffler, making sure that the clamp that's provided is on the end. Line that up with our over axle pipe. And then what I'm going to do is actually hook these hangers onto the frame, making sure that everything lines up correctly. What I'm going to do just to hold this in place is take one of the factory bolts and thread that into the frame. And same for the other side. Now, while this is mounted up, we can install our other bolt on our hanger. Might be a little helpful to push up on the exhaust, just to line everything up. All right, now we can tighten everything down. We can start by tightening down our hangers. I'm going to be using a 13mm socket for both the side and top bolt. Same for the other side. Then we can tighten up our clamp, making sure that it's sitting over both of the pipes with a 15mm socket. Next, we can tighten down the clamp that's holding on our resonator piping to our over axle piping with the same 15mm socket. And last but not least, we can head up to our first clamp up here, our factory style clamp. Tighten that down with a 13mm socket. After everything's tightened up, then we're all set to go. So that's going to wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe, and for more videos and products like this, always keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.